initially, and then from that point in time, where are they going? So this is kind of tracks down, you know, how people are getting around on the site. And so that's of interest. You can also get a sense for what's the most popular. So these indications in terms of the size tells you, you know, the higher numbers of visits to those particular pages. But then there are percentage type listings as well. And do you remember that, Steve? There's a, I'm trying to remember, there was an option. I haven't looked at it in a while, but you can dive into you know, what pages people are actually hitting, not just the flow, but also I'm trying to see behavior new versus returning. So returning visitors, new users. So anyway, you get a sense. So if there are questions about this, we could definitely, between Steve and myself, try to answer those. You might then ask, well, I want to do this. It's really straightforward from the community side to make this change. So we can go into a community and let's say, for example, the data format registry, if they wanted to add an ID, I'm sorry, they wanted to track traffic to their site through Google Analytics, then we can get this new tracking or analytics number through Google, and then just go in and manage the site. And under the community settings, there is a analytics, and so it's just as simple as pasting in that ID, and then that information gets submitted to Google. And so the way that this all works is that it's all driven by JavaScript, and so when someone hits one of our sites, it then kicks off this JavaScript, which then on each of those pages that are visited, it sends a little snippet of information onto Google, and then they can then track that information. So it's done through that. So that is what I wanted to cover with regard to Google Analytics today. Unless there's Steve, unless there's something more that you think is of interest that would be worth mentioning.
No, thanks, Ken. That's a good brief overview. The point is that that this is available for project owners and community owners. So, for example, if you are loading new content that you think is going to be, or you would like to be accessed by your community, or you want to see what parts of what content in your community document, or etc., maybe various pages are being accessed, and by whom, in a sense, you can get a pretty good start on that by implementing this Google Analytics just for your community site. So that's really the power of this, is that you can sort of get a very good handle on, you know, new changes to your site, what's being accessed, etc., and a lot of different information to that can form the basis of metrics. So if somebody asks you about your community, you know, well, what's so great about your community? You can actually tell them, you know, well, we get so many visits per week, and so many folks looking at these wiki pages or whatever, and you'll have a nice objective answer and that you can provide, as well as, again, assessing the use and utility of your own community or your project, right? So you can implement this at the project level on the Redmine side as well.
Yeah,
so,
one thing that,
go ahead.
I was just going to mention, one thing to note is that, and there was a talk that was put on, it was within Department of Commerce. So they illustrated this too, and that is the numbers that you have aren't necessarily hard numbers. So it's potentially a subset of the total visits to your site, because as a user, you can disable the JavaScript and you can prevent that from being sent to Google. And so But what's important is over time the trends, and so you can get a sense for over time, is your user base increasing, and as Steve indicated, where are people going to? And so this is under behavior overview. You can go there, and so you can see, like, for the collaboration services for the main virtual lab community, most people are going to the guest welcome page. Almost the exact same, or just going to /innovate, and so and then you can get a sense for the other pages that it's going to. Now, there's not a huge length of time being spent within here because it's really a jumping off place to get to the other communities. And so as we have it configured right now, these numbers only take into account people that are landing on the main pages, the virtual lab community. And then once they jump off to the AWIPS community, or if they jump off to any of those other communities, their activities there aren't being tracked, with the exception of the AWIPS community and the virtual lab support team community. So anyway.
Yeah, you can also, I mean, it's just a wealth of information. Ken, you could click on the hourly at the top, and you can even get these statistics based on hourly.
Hourly.
To your left, to your right, I mean, to the right, see where it says hourly, day, week.
Oh, yeah.
So there you can see, if you want to see during the course of a given day, the diurnal cycle of activity on your site, there you can see the spiking probably during the early morning hours, etc. So it's really powerful, and also should indicate, Ken, you can export all these data to PDF. You can email. You can send regular emails to yourself or to whoever you want. You can. He's indicating, you can create readily exportable formats for whatever purpose. So it's very convenient and very powerful.
So you just generate PDF. Yeah, and if you, like you said, if you wanted to send like a weekly email automatically, you can do that too. Schedule it, and then so that can be powerful as well. So.
Very good. So do we have any questions on Google Analytics? Raise your hand. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the raise your hand feature in the GoToMeeting. Okay, very good. Don't see any questions, so we will, are we going to try Eric again?
I think so.
All right.
Give him a shot.
Okay, Eric, we're going to go back to you.
Good. So let me switch to Eric.